No, not so much. She had certain things that she liked to eat, and outside of that, nope, she was not having it. My mom would always tell her, but it's good for you. To which my sister would reply, I don't care. I don't want to know what's good for me. I want to eat what I like. I'm sure some of you can relate, probably having children of your own who are difficult to feed. As parents, we worry about a lot of things. Food is probably one of the major sources of concern. How can you make sure that a child is getting all the nutrients they need when they'll eat a limited type or sort of food? Well, thankfully, since I do not know the answer to that question, I have two guests with me today who are experts in dealing with eating difficulties and eating problems. So it is my distinct pleasure to welcome Nicolette Hoffman and Nicole Kaplan. So Nicole, if you would like to unmute yourself. Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Can you kick us off, Nicole, by telling us a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do?
Yes. So I'm an educational therapist, and I had my own struggles in school. And as I grew up, I babysat for a girl. Can you hear me? You cannot hear me?
I can now. Go for it.
Good. I don't know. Okay, so I don't know what anybody heard. But anyhow, I'm an educational therapist. Long story short, um, I have three children who learn differently. I have myself who learn differently, and so it was something I was always interested in. And actually, before had kids, I was an educational therapist. But what I found is when I had kids myself, there were so many different things going on. I didn't know where to turn. You kind of become paralyzed when it's your own child. I can help anyone else, but you don't know when it's your own kid. You're just like, what do I do? So I decided I wanted to create a company that has all different kinds of services under one roof. So whether or not so I will consult and help people figure out what it is that they need. If we don't have it in my practice, I will find you the right person or the right fit. It's not like you have to come to us. But we do offer a lot of different things that I obviously think are pretty wonderful. So relatively recently, I met someone within the last year who is a chef, and she's plant-based, and we got to talking, and I have ADHD, and I'm sure she'll tell you she also has ADHD. I am on meds, she is not. And we've been talking a lot about it, and she's come and done some cooking for me, and it's really helped. I can feel the difference in how my body reacts and the things actually I start craving, and whether there be some anxiety or anxiety. It's very grounding. So I wanted this to be in my practice because I get a lot of parents who come in and it's sort of like to med or not to med. And it's definitely a parent's choice. Obviously, if I'm medicated, I'm okay with it. Um, and, Nicolette can tell you her story. So whoever comes to us will be accepted with whatever it is that they choose, and we'll work within those parameters because we do know that the nutrition does take a toll on all of us in different kinds of ways. And even if your child is on meds, it's important to make sure that they're getting the right foods because we know that sometimes appetite is suppressed. So with that, I should probably introduce our nutrition guru, Nicolette.
Hey, hey everyone. So yeah, that was great, Nicole. Thank you so much. I just love that I can help make a difference in your life, and it's just an honor. But anyway, I'm Nicolette Hoffman. I am a chef from Los Angeles, born and raised. I was a relatively healthy child. I was actually a really healthy child, but I had ADHD without the hyperactive. We used to call it ADD. And it was a silent struggle my entire life until I got into my teens, and my doctors spoke up and was like, you definitely could benefit being on medication. And so I started taking a psychotropic called Strattera, had a horrible reaction coming off of it. Like there was a lapse. I couldn't take it for a couple days and nearly like died. I was shaking, convulsing. So I switched to Adderall, which was tremendous. It helped me so much. But after being on it for 8 years, it really took a toll on my body. And in addition to having the ADHD, I had Crohn's disease. I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and it just took a toll on my body. I was falling apart. I had no energy. And the days that I wasn't medicated, I was completely useless. And that was really scary. Like I wasn't remembering what I did that day. And I hit rock bottom, and I saw a naturopath doctor and found out I had all these food allergies. And it kind of started me on this trajectory of healing with foods. And now I'm medication free, which is a personal choice. I feel a lot better without it. And I mean, I understand that my lifestyle is a luxury. Like not a lot of people have the choice, and they have a really demanding work schedule and job, and they need it. So I understand all situations. And I understand that everyone is different, and things work for them and some things don't work for them, whatever. And since then, since healing myself with food, I have been able to share this gift with my community and with the world. And it's been such a pleasure. And I have helped a lot of picky children. And I was a really picky child. Like I really was sensitive to textures and especially spice. Temperatures, like everything has to be room temperature. But yeah, I understand what it's like to be that picky child, and so it's really a blessing to help picky children get really good food in their bodies. And I've noticed a difference definitely within my clients with children. They're a lot more open. It just like it opens this pathway to so many new possibilities, and it's great to watch.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. So I mentioned in my introduction that parents often tell their children that the food they want them to eat is good for them. Do you think that telling a child about the benefits of the food you want them to eat is a good idea? Or is there a better way to encourage that healthy eating?
I definitely think that
I don't know what's happening.
It's subjective. It's totally subjective. If your child is really auditory and really like once you tell them something, they won't let you live it down. It's probably not a good idea if they're a picky child to tell them that, oh, this has carrots in it. This is really healthy. Like this is good for your eyes. They don't care. They just want it to have that balance of the saltiness, the fattiness, and the sugar. That's just what they're looking for. But if you can sneak in healthier ways, coconut oil, like swapping out certain ingredients to make it healthy, you definitely don't need to tell them, maybe until they're older and out of your house.
I want to add something about that. I think that we're dealing with a lot of kids who have ADHD, and depending on the age, and like Nicolette said, it is subjective. Sometimes I think the why of things are really important, and to understand why it's not just like your eyes are going to be better. What does it do for your brain? What does it do for your body? You know, X, Y, and Z are a little bit harder for you. If we add these nutrients in this could happen. And this does depend on the age, but I know when I'm working with a student and not about nutrition, it's like, well, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And I think that for some, we have to put meaning to it.
I love that, because that's the reminder for us that all of our children are not the same. So obviously there are different things that work with different children. And so thank you so much for reminding us about that, Nicole, because most definitely for some of the children, they need more details, more information. So why, but going to that next level. So that's really cool. So go on.
I was going to say something. Someone gave me a piece of advice once, and when a child asks a question, and we don't know really how to respond, it's really nice to say, so what do you think? Why do you think it's important? So we can get this is where they're coming from, and we can expand on that. Or that's how far we're going to take it to, that's enough information for you.
I love that.
A little tidbit.
That's definitely encouraging us to seek understanding before we run.
Yeah, because you don't want to take it too far.
Right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you mentioned earlier that both of you come at the medication route from two different spots. So Nicolette, we have an understanding of why medication is something that you're not in favor. Nicole, could you expound a little more on the opposite side into why you're in favor?
Well, it also depends, like Nicolette, like on your lifestyle, and she has the ability to do this, and I think having a lot of knowledge that she has, sometimes it's difficult to incorporate into your life. I work a lot, and I have one more kid left at home, so, and being in Mexico, our time is a little different, and most of my clients are, West Coast. So I'm working later. I don't have time to do all that and prepare for it. I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit afraid to try it without the meds. I was out of them for a couple weeks ago, and it was really difficult for me. And we tried, Nicolette and I tried, and I was spinning. So I do think it's subjective. I support a parent's decision. If a parent says, I'm not going to do it no matter what, fine. Well, there's other things that we can do. And, I have two daughters who are graduating college this year who, thanks to me, have ADHD and have been on meds, but they also know when they need to take it and when they don't. So it's not like they're taking it every day. It's like, do they have a big exam? Are they going to take it? Are they going out or working that day? Do they need to have it? No. So it's knowing the balance. And the good thing for me about this drug is it's in your system and then out.
I love
immediately.
That.
Yeah.
I definitely love that. So for parents then, so I know you said that if a parent says, I'm definitely anti it, then you'll support them. But what about a parent that doesn't know? What advice do we give when a parent is faced with, my child has this diagnosis, the doctors want to give them this medication. How do I make a decision whether or not to go with the medication or not to go with the medication?
I think that you can try going the food or more holistic route and see how that works. And if it's not working, try the other route and see how that works. I think the thing with the meds is you will know immediately if it's right for your child. Like you will know because it's in and out of your system. It doesn't take 2 weeks to build up, none of that. So for example, when my son started it in like 6th grade, I gave him a list of things to do that I knew would take him usually like all day, and I'd be pulling his teeth. 20 minutes is like, it's all done and I'm going to sit down and study. I'm like, what? Now, I didn't have access to someone like Nicolette to help me through that. And again, you get a little paralyzed with your kids. I would tell my clients, there's other things we can do, but I just didn't think about those things. And I was too busy. It's like, the cobbler's children have no shoes. So they had to suffer that a little bit. I think it's a trial and error. I also know that there are some kids that cannot take meds, that they're very sensitive to it. And that's okay. Or they try different meds and they don't feel good on it. And I think it's important to honor and respect the child's body.
Okay, beautiful. So just before we move off the topic of medication, because I felt that it's important to lay that as the foundation before we start talking about food. We did have a question about Vyvanse. And the question is, does it have to be used continuously daily?
I don't know about Vyvanse. I mean, I'm not a medical doctor. That's not what we take or what I take. I actually wanted to try it just because, I just wanted to see if there was a difference, but I haven't taken it. So I don't know. Do you know if it's continuous?
Yeah, I've tried it before. You don't need to take it continuously. It's very similar
Yeah.
to Adderall, where you can just have it here and there whenever you feel like you need an extra boost of concentration, etc.
Oh,
Like a
wonderful.
Ritalin. I think that's the nature of this kind of drug.
Awesome. Okay, so let's get down to the nitty gritty. So one of our viewers has a 2-year-old who doesn't want to eat. What's she supposed to do?
How old is he?
2.
Oh my gosh. 2 years old. I mean, that's a really sensitive time. Is the child getting physical stimulation? Are they running around? Are there other ways you can increase the appetite? Maybe could you get your child into the kitchen with you is another thing. Because like I think Nicole was talking about, like having that information really helps with some people because they really do want to know why. And it might just make things more fun for them to like see where their food comes from, see even what food is. I mean, 2-year-old brain is like a little sponge. So there's that. Also, I remember when I was a child doing a blindfold taste test that was pretty amazing because I wasn't prejudiced to like what was in front of me. And so like to try something and experience a different sensation, that could really help. And that could also be fun, like a fun game.
Oh, like that. That looks like fun. Okay. Another question. Is it
I
either
think
medication or food? How can we support children with nutrition while they're medicated? So I think we know that for some children, the medication does severely affect their appetite. So how do we help those children?
Should I take it, Nicole?
yeah.
Okay. If you are a snake eater, that's what I call them because they normally will eat like one large meal, maybe once every 2 days. That's how I was, or very sporadically. You want to take advantage of the time in between those meals to get in as much as possible. You can introduce things like a really yummy sweet green juice that will give their bodies, their brains glucose, bioavailable glucose that their bodies really need. It will also give them minerals and will sustain them and feed them until their next meal. That's a really good thing to do. Or you could do coconut water. But unfortunately, with those medications, forcing a child to eat, it's really difficult. And I think it's really important for children to have choices too of like, I could have a juice. I don't have to have this meal, but I could have this liquid sustenance and might be a bit more empowering for them and would hydrate them, keep them hydrated because they're probably dehydrated too.
And they probably don't have to like sit and drink it or like they'd have to eat a meal before like getting to school. They can take it with them. And I also think that making sure they get the food in before they take their meds and gauging when it wears off. And I think, I mean, I'm not the nutrition person, but like I just know like with my son, he loved avocados. I'd give him a whole avocado and he did not eat an avocado. And there's like, right? I mean, that's a good thing to give.
Totally.
Yeah.
And when they have the meal, I think that's a really good point, Nicole, because if they're snake eaters in that meal, you want to satiate them as much as possible. And having a high fat whole food like avocado is amazing. Also really good for the brain and development. But yeah, get as many nutrient dense things that are tasty that the child will kind of be receptive to in that meal as much as you can. And they should be fine. I mean, I went years being a snake eater and not eating at all during the day, not even for breakfast, because I couldn't. I was nauseous in the morning. So I wouldn't eat before I took my medication. But then come nighttime, like I was ready. Yeah.
So for another child then like you who is going to go the whole day and not eat because they can't, their medication has just can't, either they're nauseous or they just don't have an appetite. So you said to eat dense food, but for those of us that don't know what you're talking about, could you be a little bit more specific?
Sure.
What should I give my kid later on in the evening?
Sure. Nutrient dense foods like wild blueberries, for instance, really, really high in bioavailable glucose. Amazing that it creates sunscreen in our bodies. It tells our bodies how to make melanin, like so many benefits. So if you have a really picky child, you can hide them in some gluten-free, plant-based scones that are like so delicious. If the kid will eat a scone, they're getting about a quarter cup of blueberries, wild blueberries in that little scone. Solid. Also putting spirulina into a smoothie, even though it will turn the color green, if you just blend bananas with a little bit of spirulina, it's so delicious. Maybe add a little bit of honey or maple syrup, water. That's all you need. And you're getting a lot more nutrients in a smaller thing, if that makes sense. So you don't have to eat as much to get a lot of nutrition. And that's what nutrient dense foods mean.
Ah, terrific. So I like that smoothie recipe, and I was concerned about the drink going green, because my picky eater would have gone, ew.
Well, what if I blindfolded you?
Can you put it in a cup that is like a solid color with a lid?
That's a really good idea. Yeah.
I just thought of that.
Yeah.
There you go. So
Yeah.
we can get around that by just hiding it in
Maybe.
a cup where they can't actually see the color. I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So talking about recipes, I know that Nicolette, you're just like absolute whiz when it comes to creating whole meals. And Nicole, I remember you told me that there's something that your son adores that he doesn't know is good for him.
So we started using Nicolette, and now I crave it. So Xander, my son, is a meat eater. He's an athlete. He is 6'3", he's 16. He's a big kid and he eats a lot. And my fear when having Nicolette come here is that it's pretty much plant-based. And so now Nicolette comes and she makes incredible things. But one thing that she made is a spicy tuna on crispy rice. And I'm like making sure he's not here, because to this day, he thinks it's tuna, and he loves sushi. So he thinks it's tuna, but it's actually tomatoes, and it's phenomenal.
That's just brilliant.
It's funny.
So what's it
I'm
look
always
like? It looks like tuna?
Yeah. And we have the recipe if anybody would like it, and we can get you to go to the website, and if you write in there that you were on this call or watching this, then we will send it to you.
Cool.
Which is a big treat, because Nicolette
website for everybody.
Yes.
We'll have it on the thing, but if you just tell them, then
yeah, I'll do it right. I'll put it in here right now. So if you go into this and fill out the
Nicolette, I know you were going to share a recipe verbally with us today.
Sure, I could share a recipe. Are we talking about crispy rice?
I can't remember which one you said was easy to make and you were going to share it with us today. It may well have been the crispy rice.
In addition to the crispy rice.
Maybe a smoothie idea. I don't know.
Yeah, I can share the smoothie idea for sure. Oh, yeah, let's do that. So you take 3 frozen bananas. You have to peel them before you put them in the freezer, and let them go overnight. In the morning, take them out, put them in a high-powered blender. Getting a Vitamix, side note, is a total game changer. Can make like the silkiest, smoothest dishes that taste totally like cream or cheese or whatever using plants. Okay, so throw them in your high-speed blender. A teaspoon of spirulina. If you're a beginner, you can always add more. I like to do like a tablespoon, but I'm definitely more advanced with that flavor. And a handful of spinach, raw. About 3 tablespoons of honey, raw honey, depending on how sweet you want it. And just like a cup of water, regular water, lid, blend it until it's silky smooth and really thick, like an ice cream. And I actually call it green crack. I don't know if that's appropriate, but it's so
It
good.
is addictive.
It's so addictive. It's amazing. And if you really want to get fancy with it, you can add like 2 drops of food grade peppermint oil in to make it smooth. And then once it's smooth, add about 3 tablespoons of cacao nibs and just pulse it. And it's like you're having a mint chip smoothie, like a mint chip ice cream. It's incredible.
That sounds very exciting.
We keep
Very
those in
excited
our
about
freezer.
that. So just to be sure, so I know, Nicolette, that you're very much into raw food, and some of us aren't quite there yet. So the ingredients and stuff that you just recommended for the smoothie, can we get them at any of our grocery stores, or do we have to go to the specialty ones for it?
Pretty much all the major grocery stores now. I don't know, like in LA, is it like Vons or Ralph's?
Yeah, we have.
They're all like they all have a health food aisle now, and health food is really accessible. Like it's completely changed from when I was still living in LA, which was only 3 years ago. So yeah, it's you can get these groovy products anywhere, and I don't know what it's like in the rest of the United States, but from where I've been on the coastal cities, you can definitely
Perfect.
get groovy
Okay,
stuff.
so now most of our parents, as you said, Nicole, are working parents. So their kids go to school, they're in class all day, parents have got to go to work. What sort of food can they prepare for their kids to take to school that they're going to want to eat? I have some parents who basically, unless it's high sugar, super sweet, their kid isn't going to look at it when they get to school. And they really would like to do something else, but they're at a loss for what else they can do.
I mean, I think I should defer to Nicolette on this, but I will say that I do not think that high sugar foods during the day is going to be like beneficial at all, because as we all know, we have the highs and the lows, and it's going to make them exhausted after lunch and they're going to check out. So it's trying to figure out how to, and this is where the, Nicolette comes in with the food stuff, to come up with things like I know that if I said to Nicolette, and we've done this for my son for schools, like these are the kinds of things that he likes, what can we do? And she's created some different kinds of wraps. And I think, because of the spices that she uses, or whether, we put some kind of pesto or something like that, that it feels bigger to him. And different kinds of pastas that he can have, like Nicolette's actually making a mac and cheese for us for this week. And I would say to Xander, I'm like, there's nut cheese on this. And he's like, don't say it because it's so good. So like he'll take a thing of mac and cheese, but it's healthy and it's full of nutrients and there's no, refined sugars in it. And so he's able to sustain throughout the day.
Awesome.
There's so many foods that I like. Now I think it's kind of fun. Like I didn't think that I would eat, like I'm like, there is no way that I would eat plant-based. No way. Like I love a good steak. But having, certain foods readily available at the house has really changed the way I feel, not only just about things, but how I feel in my body. And so I crave it. And it's just like this slow change. It's like when you're changing a baby from, nursing to formula to milk, it's an adjustment and it takes a period of time. And like, I remember taking some, breast milk and formula and mixing it until slowly the formula took over. And then the formula, we did that with the milk until that took over. And I think that idea would be a good approach.
Oh. Right, so we're going to come back to that approach in 1 second. Nicolette, I'm a working parent, so my husband and I work. My child needs to go to school. What kind of things are easy to prepare that they could have for lunch when my child craves sugar and that's not what I want to give them?
That is a really good question. I just came across this amazing recipe where you take the innards of a cooked sweet potato and you blend it in to make it a puree, and you mix it with marinara, like pasta sauce. You can have that with a gluten-free pasta, and it gives that ketchupy flavor that kids like really crave. And you can even sweeten it more. You could add a little more maple syrup. That's a really good one because kids are getting the amazing lycopene. They're getting vitamin C. They're getting quinoa or whatever from the pasta, and it's a really, really healthy, amazing treat. And also could be like a gateway dish into more savory foods if they are someone who's like strictly sweets. Yeah.
Right. I like that.
And
Gateway.
I want to say something about sugar too, because I think that sugar gets a really bad reputation, but not all sugar is created equal, and our brains run on glucose, but there are only 2 forms of glucose that our bodies will absorb, making them bioavailable, which are from fruit and vegetables and from honey. So when you're giving your child refined sugar or even raw cane sugar, that's actually an extract. That's actually a drug because it is a totally isolated part of an entire plant. But when you're actually having it in its whole form, it will not make you crash, and it will completely keep you sustained throughout the day. And I can totally vouch for this because I am so sensitive to food. And just eating like a sweet potato or like a few mangoes, like 3 mangoes for a lunch, gives me so much more energy. It totally sustains me and makes my digestion amazing and my skin glow. It just has all these benefits. So I wouldn't say that sugar, like I wouldn't demonize sugar, but it just
refined sugar. Yeah, the right form of sugar. Yeah.
I like that. Cool. So, Nicole, you talked about transitioning from one type of food to another. So, for a family, you know, that again, my kid goes to school, I've got to go to work. How am I transitioning them to something more healthy? So, Nicolette gave us a great sweet potato recipe,
Right.
But can I do that out the
How do we
back?
do it? Right. So actually, as I'm thinking about it, is taking the foods that your children and your family eat. I was definitely of the philosophy when it was dinner with my 3 kids, we ate what I put on the table. If they didn't want something else, I don't care how old they were 3, make your own peanut butter and jelly or something, but this is what I did. So, and they were responsible for that. So let's say one of the things we liked is chicken enchiladas, right? So I would find probably like a recipe that was more plant-based to use, but maybe like with the same sauce or the same tortillas, and then start transferring it over. So take the things that they like and they feel good about. I guarantee there is some kind of recipe online that simulates it. And then I would probably start by blending the 2. Also, Nicolette and I have put out a cookbook that gives a lot of ideas for lunches, or has nachos on it and things like that are healthy, and some desserts that are great so they can still have them. I mean, Nicolette makes these chocolate brownies for us with an avocado frosting that is like, I don't need to have another brownie in my life. They're like real brownies. So there are all of those things out there. So let's not deprive them of things, but we're just going to alter the way in which we do it. Like slip that brownie in, you know, for dessert. Be like, oh, I made new brownies today. They're not going to know the difference.
That is so important, because I was going to ask, because, you know, I like my chocolate, and I told you at the beginning, I like my desserts. So yes, so I can still have them. Your child can still have them. We just need to change how they're made, but then still use the same title for it, so that they're enjoying eating brownies. Yeah. They just don't know that they're good for them, right?
Correct. My dog.
Okay. Oh, here's a great question. See now, is gluten always bad? My son is tested sensitive to gluten, but we still give it to him every now and then because gluten-free bread just doesn't taste the same to him.
Oh yeah, this is a super controversial topic, but I really love it because I've been in all places of like having it, not having it, whatever. It is totally subjective. For a child who is ASD or ADHD, I do not recommend that they have it. And it doesn't matter if it's sprouted, if it's sourdough, if it contains yeast, it doesn't matter. It can create more inflammation, and we just don't want their little bodies to have inflammation. We want to do everything they can to reduce that inflammation so that their brains can function properly, and there's not blood going to other parts of the body. Everything is working smoothly. But then if someone is entirely healthy, then having a piece of sourdough toast is, I don't think it's a problem. I think it's beautiful. It's a shame what's happened to wheat on our planet because it really did used to be a great healthy plant. And now considering the GMOs and the pesticides, everything that bread contains now that's not on the label, I think it's wise to eliminate it. But if you're getting a good organic loaf of bread from Lodge Bread in Culver City and you're feeling good eating it, totally eat it. If you are feeling healthy, if your child is feeling healthy and you don't notice any side effects from it, then why not? Our bodies keep the score, right? And our bodies, we know what our bodies need and what they don't need, and it's really important for us to take responsibility and to listen to the signals.
All right, cool. All right, so how accurate are the food sensitivity tests? We have an IgC ELISA test, and it's just hard to believe that we're sensitive to so many foods without any food allergies.
Mm-hmm. I love this topic so much because this was what started my health trajectory, and it's really interesting once you learn what these tests actually do. So at any given time, your blood can completely change depending on whatever you're eating, whatever pathogens you have in your body, whatever we have in our bodies. So what these tests do is measure a reaction of your blood with the piece of matter, with the piece of food or whatever they're measuring it with. And if we have bugs in our blood, like Epstein-Barr or shingles, for instance, like so many things, flu virus, whatever. If you're testing that blood that contains those bugs with a piece of garlic, what's going to happen with the garlic is medicinal. It's going to kill the bug. What happens with the bug is the bug explodes, and all of a sudden there's viral waste in the blood, and that's a reaction that it's measuring. Same with cane sugar or same with gluten. If you're measuring that blood and the bugs they really want the egg or they really want the gluten, then they will poop and they will literally excrete into your blood, causing a reaction. So that's why there's so many healthy things like pineapple, banana, cranberries. I tested allergic, like highly allergic to all those things, but I'm not allergic to them. They were just killing the pathogens in my blood. So yeah, I think it's wise to use common sense when you're going through your test results and be like, well, this is probably not so healthy. Eggs, I'm sorry, eggs are such a superfood. They're such a food that everyone loves, and bugs love them too. So they feed on them. So while they're a totally healthy food, it just depends, like, if you have all the pathogens in your blood, it's probably not the best thing to have because it's going to create all this inflammation. It's going to create burrowing of these pathogens and viruses, things like that. Or if you see that you're allergic to garlic, you're probably not allergic to garlic knowing that it's medicinal, if that makes sense. So it's good to use your common sense and wisdom, your internal compass, and figure out what is healthy and what's not for you specifically.
Right. So just because it shows up on the test that you're sensitive to it, you might not necessarily be. Your body might actually just be beating all that stuff up.
Exactly.
It might be doing a really good job.
Right. Nicolette, is there a test that you like over one than the other? I think you and I were talking about this the other day, how rather than doing one of the mail-in ones, it's better to do it with a doctor. Was that you and I having this
I
conversation?
don't know. We didn't talk about that. I
Okay.
got my blood drawn from a lab and went to a natural
Right.
doctor in Los Angeles. But I can't talk about the validity of the mail-in tests. I don't know much about them.
Okay.
All right, so on the same line, I have ADHD and am lactose intolerant. I take a lactose pill if I have a treat with butter or milk. I am not always consistent. Is it best to totally eliminate dairy from my diet, or should I continue to work on greater consistency with the lactose pill? Oh, I love that question.
Great question. Take the dairy out. There are so many alternatives. If your body is suffering from this, it's just not worth it. Just take the dairy out.
Okay. So then what would you say? So, all right. So if we're going to tell this guest to take the dairy out, what should they replace it with? Because obviously, I mean, I'm slightly lactose intolerant. My body is a walking mess. But so I used to have to only, seriously, when I was younger, I could only have soy, no dairy. Now I can have it, but sends my migraine off and certain things set off whatever. So I totally get where this person's coming from. But when you like dairy, so, you know, I love my cheese, what can you replace it with, or what should you replace it with?
Oh, this is amazing because it makes me think about like the molecular build of what dairy is and our addiction to it. Because if we were breastfed, or even if we were on formula, it contains MSG. Like breast milk contains more MSG probably than the cheese in your refrigerator. So we are naturally like addicted. Like it was the first food that we had. So this is so comforting and so addicting. So to replace that MSG flavor that you're getting from like aged cheeses, which is, I'm sorry, you cannot compare a plant cheese to like a good sharp white cheddar. So I understand it. If you can have it once in a while, great. But if you are feeling sick from it, that is a total signal from your body to switch. So what I do is sometimes I'll make almond milk and I will peel the almonds. It's super tedious, or you could just buy like Marcona almonds. And I'll blend it with the water, make the milk, and then I take the pulp and mix it with truffle oil, a little bit of nutritional yeast, which is MSG, that flavor, and a little bit of salt and pepper, and it makes like a ricotta that tastes like the real deal. You can also do wonders with cashew cheese. You can age them just like real cheese. It's a lot more fun. It's a fun project to do with your children. And it's great. It can melt. It can do all these fun things, and you would literally never know. But I do understand this, it's like a primal thing. It's like the first food that we had was this like sweet and umami milk from our mothers. Like, how wonderful is that? And we're getting that comfort sensation every time we take a slice off the block. But, you know, balance. And listen to your body.
So we can age cashew cheese. I'm so excited now. I'm going to have to Google how to do that.
It's
I've never made cashew cheese. So if I get stuck, I'm going to reach out. I might need some help in that department.
Okay.
So
Xander likes it.
What are some dietary choices that will help with inflammation in our bodies? Would probiotics help? And if so, which kinds are there? As there are so many out there. Oh, good God. Yeah, you're so right. There are.
Oh my gosh. I don't know that probiotics actually do so much. I know that they help some people. For me, I never felt a difference with them. if you are going to get probiotics, the actual best source you can do is by growing your own food without pesticides, without without any artificial fertilizer or anything, and not washing it before you eat it. That piece of fruit or vegetable is completely covered in like live active probiotics. That's the only time I ever felt a difference, was like eating a piece of kale grown in a small plot in my tiny like backyard, that I really, really felt a difference. Not washing it was amazing. What I do, if you do not have access to growing your own food, even if you have a little patio, you just can't do it. I totally get it. Having enzymes before you eat food, digestive enzymes, is a total game changer. It's way more effective for me personally than any probiotic has been. And I've tried every probiotic. And a really good one, I'm not sponsored by them or anything, it's called Superhuman Enzymes. You can Google that. They're amazing. You keep them in the freezer, and a total game changer.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So one of our attendees said, eat fermented foods rather than using probiotics. Is that a good option?
Personally, for me, I don't think fermented foods have like a positive or negative influence on the body. I haven't felt a difference from them. Same with the people I work with. In fact, I feel like I'm a little sensitive to them, but I still like love that tanginess. And I think it's because the bacteria that is actually transforming the food from its raw state into its like pseudo raw state is bacteria that thrives on decaying matter. So it doesn't really bring us any benefit. Now, you can culture those vegetables. You can add a couple capsules of probiotic. That would make it a lot more beneficial. But just having fermented foods, actually, I find a lot of people I work with are really sensitive.
Okay, cool. So could you say the name of the digestive enzyme again, please?
Superhuman Enzymes. And I think the brand is called Elemental Wisdom. I'm sorry if you can't hear me, there's birds outside. But,
sorry.
Superhuman Enzymes, Elemental Wisdom. I'm almost positive that's the company. Right. They're amazing, like transforming.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. Oh my goodness. Where did the time go?
Oh my God.
That's just insane. Whoa. No way. We're like, I can't believe it. I have had so much fun hanging out with you both today. And I can't believe that our time is just like, it's just flown by. So if I can get from both of you, like your last advice for parents with picky eaters, whether they be young children, teenagers, or even going on that college route. And yeah, we didn't even touch on those kids who are now going to be going away from home. Mm-hmm. You know, what can we as parents, how can we help them, you know?
That's another talk for sure.
Journey as we continue to things that are.
Do you want to go first, Nicolette?
Sure.
Yeah.
Make it fun. Make it fun for the kids. Get really creative with the ideas of how you get healthy food into their body. You, as the primary caretaker, know better than anyone like how you're going to get them to have really healthy food and make it fun. And also, exposing children to where their food comes from is, I think, detrimental. If you don't have access to taking your children or child to a farm, take him or her to a farmer's market, and just show them, like, expose them as much as possible to the natural cycle of where our food comes from, where it goes, composting. I think that helps kids engage so much more.
I love that. Thank you. Nicole?
Oh, sorry. I muted it because of my dogs. Trying to keep it quiet. I would say take an inventory of the foods that they like. Look into what's the plant-based raw version of it and slowly bring it over. I also think for the younger ones, I love the idea. I did so much cooking with my kids in the kitchen. And I love the idea, even like food is art. Like to me, food is so beautiful and the colors, like maybe they can make, like a picture with the food, and then that kind of makes it a little bit more exciting to eat. Um, let's see what else. Yeah, I agree. Make it fun. And I think that the topic of the older kids transitioning into college is a great idea. This is a funny story. My son went to camp one year and I just said, eat the rainbow, like get every color in. So he reported back to me that he had red sauce on his pizza, that he had orange starburst, and that he had green jello. And I was like, no. So when we say eat the rainbow, maybe we could be a little bit more specific on some things that are red and all the way through. But yeah, I know, right?
I love
The funny
that.
kid.
Just before we go, because one of our guests has been trying to track down the superhuman enzymes, she said that she's on the Elemental Wisdom site, and she only sees primes and clean
enzymes,
but not super
clean
Oh,
enzymes.
sorry, enzymes. So
It's okay.
prime enzymes and clean enzymes, but not superhuman enzymes.
Ooh,
So
I will need to send you the link.
Nicolette, if you give it to me. Oh, do you have the link?
No, I don't. I need to check it out. But
okay. So what
I
we'll
can
do,
send that with the
everybody,
recipe.
we will find that out for you, and then we will share it on our site. So when you check back on our Bridges website, underneath the report for this program, we'll get that direct link for you. Okay, so check back with us in a couple of days, and we'll definitely have that for you. All right, not a problem. You're very welcome. Ladies, I cannot thank you enough. It has been such a delight to have both of you. I know for a fact that we've all learned so much. And I can't, again, thank you enough for being here. So it's been a pleasure to find answers to our questions. I hope now that you're all inspired to use the recommendations from Nicole and Nicolette. And I know that they will be delighted if you choose to reach out to them at www.empowermentedlearning.net. So that's
Empowered.
www.empoweredlearning.net. If today's conversation has made a difference for you and you'd like to share that with me, please email me. Our email is crucialconversations@2ecenter.org. You'll shortly see a pop-up survey on your screen. If you could complete it, I would be very grateful. Your input about the conversations you would like to have in the future are vital to keep this webcast valuable for you. So we'll resume our crucial conversations about cognitive diversity on April 27th. My guest next month will be neuropsychologist Dr. Karen Wilson. So if you have questions about getting your neurodiverse identification for your young person, make sure that you join me.
Thank you so much for having us. This was wonderful. We love talking about this stuff.
We love you. Let's get together again. Oh, we didn't get the outro.